The Galactic Council had watched humanity for over 300 years. They watched them crawl out of their small blue planet and reach for the stars with primitive rockets and fragile ships. They watched them fight among themselves, kill each other over land and resources, and somehow still find the strength to dream of touching distant worlds. To the elder races of the galaxy, humans were nothing special. The crystalline had lived for millions of years and built empires that spanned entire star clusters. The Dominion had conquered over 2,000 worlds with their massive fleets and endless armies. The collective, beings made of living stone, had witnessed the birth and death of countless civilizations. Compared to these ancient powers, humanity was like a child taking its first steps. Commander of the Dominion stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. His body was covered in black armored plates, and his 4 arms rested at his sides as he addressed the gathered representatives. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke, and his compound eyes reflected the light of 1,000 stars visible through the transparent dome above. "Look at them," he said, projecting images of human vessels onto the central display. "They call themselves a spacefaring species. Their ships are slow and weak. Their weapons are primitive. They have no natural defenses, no claws, no venom, no armored skin. They are soft creatures made of water and meat." The ambassador, a being of living crystal named, tilted her head slightly. Light refracted through her body in patterns that indicated curiosity. "And yet they have spread to 47 star systems in less than 2 centuries. That is faster than any species we have recorded." Luck dismissed with a wave of his upper arms. "They found empty worlds and claimed them. They have never faced a true challenge. They have never met an enemy that could actually fight back." Elder shifted his massive stone form. He was ancient beyond measure, and he had learned long ago that the most dangerous creatures were often the ones that appeared weak. "I advise caution, Commander. We have seen species like this before. Small, fragile, short-lived. And yet somehow they always surprise us." Made a sound of contempt. "The Dominion does not fear soft creatures who die of old age before they reach 100 cycles. I propose we take their territory, their resources, their worlds. They are too weak to resist, and their planets are rich with minerals we need." The council debated for hours, but in the end the decision was made. They would test humanity. They would attack a small colony and see how the humans responded. If they ran, they would take everything. If they fought, they would be crushed. Far across the galaxy, on a green and blue world called New Providence, Captain Daniel Hayes sat in his small apartment and watched the sunset through his window. He was 42 years old, with gray beginning to show at his temples and lines around his eyes from years of staring at screens and star maps. He had joined Earth Defense Force because he wanted to explore, to see things no human had ever seen before. He never expected to become a warrior. His communicator beeped, and he answered it to find the face of his executive officer, Commander Cole, looking back at him with worried eyes. "Sir, we have a situation. Command wants you on the Valor immediately." Daniel was on his feet before finished speaking. "What kind of situation?" "Station has gone silent. Our long-range sensors detected unknown vessels in the area. They match the profile of warships." Daniel felt his blood run cold. Station was a mining outpost on the edge of human space. It was home to 3,000 people, including families with children. It was supposed to be safe, far from any potential conflict. He was aboard the Valor within the hour. The ship was small by galactic standards, just an escort vessel designed for patrol and reconnaissance. It had decent weapons and good engines, but it was never meant to fight a real battle against a superior enemy. Lieutenant Lisa Morgan, his communications officer, met him on the bridge. She was young, barely 25, with red hair pulled back in a tight bun and freckles across her nose. Her hands were shaking slightly as she handed him the data pad. "We intercepted fragments of a distress call, Captain. They are attacking the station. They came without warning and opened fire on civilian ships trying to escape. Daniel read the report and felt something cold settle in his chest. The fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers, each one capable of destroying the Valor 10 times over. There was no way to win a straight fight. The logical thing to do was call for reinforcements and wait. But reinforcements were 3 days away. The people on station would be dead long before help arrived. Appeared at his side, his face grim. "Sir, I have to be honest with you. We cannot win this fight. If we go in there, we will probably die." Daniel nodded slowly. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They were young, most of them. They had families, dreams, futures. They had signed up to explore the stars, not to throw their lives away in a hopeless battle. But 3,000 civilians were counting on someone to help them. 3,000 men, women, and children who would die if no one came. "Set course for station," Daniel said quietly. "Maximum speed." Stared at him. "Sir, did you hear what I said? We cannot win." "I heard you." Daniel turned to face his crew. "I am not going to order any of you to come with me. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to leave can take the shuttle and go. I will not think less of you." No one moved. Lieutenant Commander Tors, his tactical officer, spoke up from her station. She was a small woman with dark hair and sharp eyes that never seemed to miss anything. "Captain, we are all with you. Those are our people out there." Daniel felt a surge of pride and sorrow at the same time. He knew he might be leading these people to their deaths, but he also knew that running away was not something any of them could live with. "Then let us show them what humans are made of," he said. "All hands battle stations." The Valor turned toward the distant stars where station was dying, and her engines roared to life. One small ship against 12 heavy cruisers. It was suicide. But humanity had never been good at calculating the odds. The Valor dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of the fleet. It was the most dangerous maneuver Daniel had ever ordered. Coming out of light speed so close to enemy ships could tear a vessel apart if the calculations were even slightly wrong, but they needed every second they could get. Station hung in the void before them, burning. Several sections had been breached, and oxygen was venting into space in white plumes. Debris floated everywhere, the remains of civilian ships that had tried to run. Among the wreckage, Daniel could see bodies. Men, women, and children who had died never understanding why they were being attacked. The fleet turned toward the Valor like a pack of predators noticing new prey. 12 heavy cruisers, each one 5 times the size of his ship, covered in black armor and bristling with weapons. Commander himself was aboard the lead vessel, watching with amusement as the tiny human ship positioned itself between his fleet and the station. "Human vessel," broadcast, his alien voice translated into cold English by the communication system. "You are outnumbered and surrender now and we will grant your crew quick deaths. Resist and we will make you suffer." Daniel looked at his crew. Lisa was pale but steady at her communications console, stood beside him with his jaw clenched tight, was already running calculations on her tactical display, looking for any weakness they could exploit. "Open a channel," Daniel said. "Channel open, Captain." Daniel straightened his uniform and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Daniel Hayes of the Earth Defense Ship Valor. You have attacked a civilian installation and killed innocent people. You have committed an act of war against humanity. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw from this system before we open fire." There was a moment of silence and then laughed. It was an ugly sound like metal scraping against metal. "You threaten us. 1 ship against 12. I have crushed entire civilizations, human. I have burned worlds and enslaved billions. You are nothing but insects waiting to be stepped on." 50 seconds, Daniel replied calmly. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Bradley was working faster than he had ever worked in his life. He was a big man with thick arms and grease permanently stained into his hands. He had been fixing ships since he was 16 years old, and he knew the Valor better than anyone. "Route all secondary power to weapons," he shouted to his team. "Strip the non-essential systems. Life support can run on minimum. I want every bit of energy we have going to the guns." "Chief, if we do that, we will not have enough power to retreat," one of his engineers said. Looked at her with steady eyes. "We are not retreating." On the bridge, suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, I found something. Their command ship has a shield configuration I have seen before. There is a resonance frequency that creates a weak point near their reactor section. If we can modulate our weapons to match that frequency, we might be able to punch through." "How long to make the modifications?" "Already doing it, sir. 30 seconds. 40 seconds, Lisa announced to the was growing impatient. "This is foolish, human. What do you hope to accomplish? Even if you damage one of my ships, the others will tear you apart. Your death will be meaningless." Daniel smiled grimly. "My death might be meaningless to you, but every second I keep you busy is another second for the survivors on that station to reach the escape pods. Every second matters." 30 seconds. The commander made a dismissive gesture. "Enough of this. All ships destroy them." But Daniel was faster. "Fire everything." The Valor unleashed her full arsenal at the command ship. The modulated weapons fire struck the exact point had calculated, and the effect was devastating. The alien shields flickered and failed. The shots punched through the hull and detonated inside the reactor section. The command ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the void like a small sun. For a moment everything stopped. The fleet hesitated, unable to believe what had just happened. Their commander was dead. Their flagship was gone. One tiny human ship had done what no enemy had accomplished in centuries. Daniel did not give them time to recover. "All hands, evasive pattern Delta, target their engines. If they cannot chase us, they cannot hurt us." The Valor dove into the formation like an angry hornet. She was smaller and faster than the heavy cruisers, and Daniel used that advantage ruthlessly. He flew his ship through gaps in their formation that should have been impossible, using the enemy vessels as shields against each other. Every time they tried to target him, he was already gone. Fired with perfect precision, hitting engine ports and weapon systems. She could not destroy the cruisers, but she could cripple them. One by one, the ships began to fall behind, their propulsion damaged, their weapons offline. But the Valor was taking hits too. Her shields were failing. Her hull was breached in 3 places. Crew members were dying at their stations, but no one stopped fighting. No one even thought about surrender. Took a plasma bolt to his arm when a console exploded beside him. He wrapped the wound with his belt and kept working. Lisa was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but she never stopped coordinating their attacks, and his team fought fires in the engine room while keeping the ship running through sheer willpower. Finally, with 4 cruisers destroyed and 3 more crippled, Daniel made his last move. The Valor's weapons were empty. Her shields were gone. She was dying. "Ram them," he ordered. The Valor accelerated toward the nearest cruiser at maximum speed. Her reinforced bow struck the alien ship's weaker hull plating and tore through it like a knife through paper. The collision destroyed both vessels, but the chain reaction spread to a neighboring cruiser, and it too began to break apart. When the light from the explosions faded, the remaining ships were fleeing. They had come to crush a primitive species and instead lost half their fleet to a single ship. Daniel lay on the deck of his ruined bridge, blood pooling beneath him. Crawled over and pressed a cloth to his wounds. "We did it, sir," said, his voice breaking. "The survivors are evacuating. They are going to make it." Daniel smiled weakly. "Casualties?" 47 dead, 200 wounded, but the station is saved. 3,000 civilians lived because 50 brave men and women refused to run away. News of the Battle of Station spread across the galaxy within hours. And for the first time in recorded history, the elder races began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake in underestimating humanity. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the holographic recording played. Every representative watched the Battle of Station unfold before their eyes. They saw the Valor emerge from light speed and position itself against impossible odds. They saw Captain Daniel Hayes deliver his ultimatum. They saw one small human ship tear through a fleet and save 3,000 lives. When the recording ended, no one spoke for a long time. Sub-Commander, who had taken command of the forces after his death, stood before the council. His mandibles trembled with barely controlled rage. The defeat had humiliated the Dominion. For the first time in their history, they had been beaten by a species they considered primitive. "This changes nothing," insisted. "We underestimated them. We sent a small fleet against a fortified position. We will not make that mistake again." Elder turned his massive stone head toward the representative. His voice was slow and heavy, like boulders grinding together. "I watched that recording 17 times, Sub-Commander. I analyzed every tactical decision, every maneuver, every moment of that battle, and I found something disturbing." "What did you find?" The human captain knew he was going to die. His crew knew they were going to die, and they fought anyway. Paused. They did not fight because they thought they could win. They fought because they refused to let innocent people die without trying to save them. Made a dismissive sound. "Foolish sentimentality, it makes them weak." "Does it?" Ambassador of the stepped forward, her crystalline form catching the light. "I have been studying human history since the battle. I have read their stories, their legends, their wars. Do you know what I found?" "I do not care about human stories." "You should." Projected new images onto the display. They showed human soldiers throughout history in conflicts spanning thousands of years. They have a concept called sacrifice. It appears in every culture, every civilization they have ever built. They will die for each other. They will die for strangers. They will die for ideas and principles that have no physical form. She showed images of firefighters running into burning buildings, soldiers throwing themselves on explosives to save their companions, parents lifting impossible weights to save their children, ordinary people rushing toward danger when every instinct should have told them to run. "They call it courage," continued, "but it is something more than that. It is a fundamental belief that some things are worth more than survival, that protecting others is more important than protecting yourself." His compound eyes narrowed. "Pretty words do not win wars." "No, they do not, but the willingness to die for those words does." Turned to face the full council. "I have seen many species in my long existence. I have seen empires rise and fall. And I tell you now with absolute certainty that humanity is dangerous, not because they are strong, not because they are intelligent, but because they will fight when there is no hope of victory. They will sacrifice everything for principles we cannot even comprehend." Elder nodded slowly. "The speaks truth. Humanity is not like us. They do not calculate odds the way we do. They do not weigh their lives against possible outcomes. When they believe they are right, they fight until they win or until they are destroyed. There is no middle ground." Spread his 4 arms wide in a gesture of contempt. "Then we will destroy them. The Dominion has already assembled our full fleet. 80,000 warships are traveling to human space as we speak. We will not attack a single colony this time. We will strike at Earth itself. We will burn there and end this threat forever." The chamber erupted in alarmed voices. Even among the elder races, a fleet of 80,000 warships was almost unimaginable. It was a force capable of destroying entire civilizations. "This is madness," said. "You will turn a minor border conflict into a war of extermination." "They started this war when they destroyed our flagship. They humiliated the Dominion. We will have our revenge." Stepped closer to, her crystalline form pulsing with light. "I am telling you, as one who has watched countless species rise and fall, do not do this. Do not attack there. Do not threaten their existence, because if you do, you will unleash something that cannot be stopped. What more desperate heroics, more suicidal attacks? No, his voice dropped to barely a whisper. Humanity has been peaceful. They have been curious. They have been eager to learn and trade and cooperate. But beneath that friendly surface is something ancient and terrible, something they carry in their blood from millions of years of survival on a hostile world. She showed one final image. It was a human face, but the expression was not friendly or curious. It was cold. It was determined. It was the face of something that had been pushed too far. They call it wrath, said, and once it is awakened, it does not stop until everything that threatened them is gone, not defeated, not surrendered, gone. Stared at the image for a moment, then turned away. The fleet is already moving. The decision has been made. In 3 weeks, humanity will cease to exist. Elder rose to his full height, his stone form towering over the other representatives. Then remember my words, Sub-Commander. Remember them when your worlds burn and your people beg for mercy. Remember that we warned you. Warned me of what? Never attack the humans. Back on Earth, Daniel Hayes lay in a hospital bed, recovering from his wounds. The news feeds were filled with stories about the coming invasion. 80,000 ships, the largest fleet ever assembled against a single species. His daughter, Emma, sat beside him. She was 8 years old, with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She held his hand tightly, not really understanding what was happening, but knowing that something bad was coming. "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" Daniel looked at his daughter and felt something stir deep inside him. It was the same thing that had driven him to fight at Station. The same thing that made humans run into burning buildings and stand against impossible odds. "Yes, sweetheart," he said. "We are going to be okay. Because no matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, humans never give up. We never surrender. And we never, ever abandon each other." Outside the window, ships were launching from every spaceport on the planet. Millions of people were volunteering to fight. Factories that had made toys and cars were now making weapons. Schools were being converted into hospitals. Every man, woman, and child capable of contributing was doing so. Humanity was preparing for war. And when humans prepare for war, the galaxy trembles. The Armada entered human space like a dark tide sweeping across the stars. 80,000 warships, each one carrying thousands of soldiers, each one armed with weapons capable of burning continents. Sub-Commander stood on the bridge of his new flagship and smiled as Earth appeared on his screens. The blue and green world looked so fragile, so small, so easy to destroy. "Scan for enemy vessels," he ordered. His sensor officer worked the controls and then stopped. His mandibles clicked in confusion. "Sub-Commander, I am detecting 800 human warships in defensive formation around the planet." 800, laughed. "Against 80,000, this will be over in hours." "There is more, Sub-Commander. I'm also detecting thousands of smaller contacts. Unknown configuration. They appear to be everywhere, in the asteroid field, around the moons, hiding behind debris." Waved a dismissive hand. "Civilian vessels, no doubt, trying to flee. They will be dealt with after we destroy their military." On the bridge of the Earth Defense flagship Liberty, Admiral watched the fleet approach. She was 63 years old, with white hair cut short and a face lined by decades of service. She had fought pirates and smugglers. She had negotiated treaties and resolved disputes, but she had never faced anything like this. 800 ships against 80,000. On paper, it was hopeless. But had learned something important in the 3 weeks since they announced their invasion. She had learned what humanity was capable of when their backs were against the wall. Admiral, her aide, Lieutenant Park, reported from his station. "They are hailing us. They are demanding our surrender." Smiled grimly, "Put them through." His face appeared on the main screen. "Human Commander, Your position is hopeless. Surrender your world and we will spare some of your population as labor slaves. Resist and we will kill every man, woman, and child on that planet. Looked at the alien with steady eyes. Sub-Commander, I have a counter-offer. Turn your fleet around and leave human space. Do that, and some of you might survive what is coming. Made a sound that might have been laughter. You have 800 ships, I have 80,000. There is nothing you can do. Let me show you something, gestured, and the tactical display behind her came to life. For the past 3 weeks, every human in this solar system has been preparing for your arrival. Every factory has been building weapons. Every civilian ship has been retrofitted for combat. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris has been turned into a weapon. The display showed thousands of hidden installations across the solar system. Missile platforms concealed in asteroid fields. Weapons satellites orbiting every moon. Mining facilities that had been converted into fortresses. Supply stations that were now ammunition depots. You see 800 warships, continued. But you are not fighting 800 ships. You are fighting 11 billion humans who would rather die than live under your rule. You are fighting a species that has spent its entire existence clawing its way to survival against predators, plagues, and each other. You are fighting something you cannot possibly understand. Leaned forward, pretty words will not save you. No, but they will, pointed at her crew. And them. And everyone on every ship and station and platform in this system. We are not afraid of you, Sub-Commander. We are not afraid of death. The only thing we fear is failing to protect our home. She straightened her uniform. So come and take our world if you can. The battle for Earth began at exactly 600 hours, Earth Standard Time. The fleet advanced in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They expected the humans to break and run. They expected fear and panic and desperate attempts to escape. What they got was something else entirely. The first wave of ships entered the outer defense perimeter, and the asteroid field came alive with fire. Hidden platforms launched thousands of missiles. Automated weapon systems opened fire from every angle. Ships that had been playing dead suddenly powered up and attacked. Captain Cole, now commanding the rebuilt Valor II, led a squadron of 20 ships straight into the heart of the formation. He had been offered a desk job after station, but he refused. His captain had saved his life. He owed a debt that could only be repaid in battle. All ships follow my lead, he ordered. Target the carriers. If we take out their fighters, we even the odds. The Valor II dove into the enemy fleet with her squadron behind her. They fought like demons, weaving through the massive cruisers and striking at vulnerable targets. 16 of ships were destroyed in the first hour. He did not stop. He did not slow down. He kept fighting until his weapons were empty and his ship was falling apart around him. His final act was to ram his crippled vessel into the reactor core of a carrier. The explosion took out 3 more enemy ships. Across the battlefield, similar acts of heroism were happening every minute. Civilian ships loaded with explosives flew directly into enemy formation. Pilots who had been teachers and farmers and doctors just weeks before gave their lives to protect strangers they had never met. Admiral coordinated the defense from the Liberty, her voice calm and steady even as ships died around her. She had lost her husband in the first hour of the battle. Her son was somewhere in the fighter squadrons, and she had not heard from him in hours. But she could not think about that. She could only think about the next order, the next maneuver, the next chance to hurt the enemy. The battle lasted 3 days. 3 days of constant fighting. 3 days of dying. 3 days of humanity throwing everything they had at an enemy that should have crushed them in hours. By the end, the fleet was broken. Of the 80,000 ships that had entered the solar system, fewer than 3,000 escaped. Sub-Commander himself was killed when a civilian transport piloted by a teenage girl crashed directly into his bridge. She had been 17 years old. Her name was Amy, and she had volunteered because her little brother was on Earth. But the victory came at a terrible price. Earth's defense fleet was reduced to rubble. Millions of humans had died. Entire colonies had been destroyed. The planet itself bore scars that would take generations to heal. Stood on the bridge of the battered Liberty and looked at the field of wreckage that had once been two mighty fleets. Her uniform was torn. Her face was streaked with blood and tears, but she was still standing. Admiral said softly, "We won." Shook her head. "No, we survived, and now we make sure this never happens again." She turned to face her surviving crew, her voice carrying the weight of everyone they had lost. "Send a message to every human colony. Tell them what happened here. Tell them what we paid for our survival. And tell them to get ready, because humanity is done being underestimated. Humanity is done being attacked. From this day forward, anyone who threatens us will learn what it means to face our wrath." The message went out across the stars, and the galaxy began to understand that something had changed forever. 5 years had passed since the battle for Earth. 5 years of rebuilding, of mourning, of preparing for a future that no one could have imagined. The scars of the war were still visible on every human world, but something else was visible too. Something that made the elder races of the galaxy very nervous. Humanity had not simply rebuilt, they had transformed. The Galactic Council chamber was fuller than it had been in centuries. Representatives from every known species had gathered to hear what the humans had to say. Some came out of curiosity, some came out of fear, and some came hopping to find an opportunity in what they assumed would be a weakened species begging for help. They were all wrong. Ambassador Grace walked into the chamber alone. She was a small woman with gray streaking her black hair and lines of grief carved deep into her face. She had lost her husband and both children in the invasion. Her daughter had been 6 years old. Her son had been 4. But when she spoke, her voice was steady as steel. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, I come before you today not to ask for help, not to seek alliances, not to beg for mercy or understanding. I come to deliver a message." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled aliens. Some refused to meet her eyes. Others stared with undisguised hostility. The ambassador watched with something that might have been sadness. 5 years ago, the Dominion attacked our colonies without provocation. They killed civilians. They murdered children. And when we defended ourselves, they sent 80,000 warships to destroy our. Grace's voice hardened. They failed, but the cost was beyond anything you can imagine. We lost millions of people. Parents lost children. Children lost parents. We buried friends and neighbors and strangers who gave their lives to protect our world. She gestured, and holographic displays activated around the chamber. They showed Earth's new fleet. Thousands of warships, each one larger and more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen before. Human engineers had taken every piece of technology from the battlefield and improved upon it. Human scientists had cracked secrets that had taken other races to discover. In 5 years, humanity has built the most powerful military force in galactic history, Grace continued. Our ships are faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything you possess. Our soldiers have been trained in methods that would make your warriors weep. Our weapons can destroy worlds. The chamber stirred nervously. Several representatives began whispering to each other. "But that is not why I am here." Grace lowered her voice, and somehow that made her words more frightening. "I am here to explain something about humanity, something they learned too late." She walked closer to the council representatives, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. "We did not want this war. We were happy to explore the galaxy in peace. We wanted to trade, to learn, to make friends among the stars. We dreamed of a future where humans and aliens would work together to build something beautiful." Her eyes went cold. "But you taught us that the galaxy does not work that way. You taught us that the weak are prey. That kindness is mistaken for weakness. that the only thing powerful species understand is the threat of destruction. Grace stopped in front of Elder. The ancient being met her gaze with something like respect. "So here is humanity's promise to the galaxy," she said. "From this day forward, any species that attacks human civilians will be destroyed. Not defeated, not conquered, destroyed. We will hunt them across the stars until nothing remains but ashes and memory." She turned to face the full council. They learned this lesson the hard way. There is now a human military base. Their species exists only because we chose to let them live. They serve us now, not as slaves, but as a warning to others who might consider following their path. The chamber erupted in outraged voices. Several representatives jumped to their feet, shouting protests. Grace raised her hand, and somehow that simple gesture silenced them all. "We are not cruel," she said. "We do not torture or exterminate. We do not attack without provocation. If you leave us in peace, we will be the best friends you have ever had. We will share our technology, our knowledge, our resources. We will help you grow and prosper." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "But if you attack us, if you harm our people, if you threaten our existence, then you will face our wrath. And against that wrath, survival is impossible." The silence that followed was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the ancient seemed frozen in place. Finally, Ava stepped forward. Her crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns of light. "Ambassador, I warned them before the invasion. I told them not to attack your species. They did not listen." She bowed her head. "They offer our friendship and our alliance. We have no desire to experience the fate of the—" One by one, other species began to speak. Some offered alliances. Some offered trade agreements. Some simply promised to leave human space alone forever. Grace accepted them all with the same calm expression. She knew that some of these promises were sincere and some were made out of fear. It did not matter. Fear was enough. Fear would keep her people safe. As she turned to leave the chamber, Elder spoke one last time. "Ambassador, I have watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. I have seen conquerors and victims, predators and prey. I have never seen anything like humanity." Grace paused but did not turn around. "You were soft and fragile and short-lived," continued. "You should have been easy prey. Instead, you have become something the galaxy has never seen before, something that cannot be defeated because it cannot be broken." Grace finally turned to face him. "We are just humans, Elder. We are not special. We simply refuse to give up." Nodded slowly. "That is what makes you terrifying." Grace smiled, and there was no warmth in it. "Good, because I want every species in this galaxy to remember one thing. The same thing I told the Council today. The same thing my husband told our children before he died protecting them." "What was that?" "Never attack the humans, because we do not know how to surrender. We do not know how to accept defeat. We only know how to fight until we win or until every last one of us is dead. And if you kill us all, we will find a way to come back and destroy you from beyond the grave." She walked out of the chamber, leaving the assembled representatives in stunned silence. Centuries later, when younger races asked the elder civilizations about humanity, they always received the same answer. The humans are dangerous, not because they are strong, though they are. Not because they are intelligent, though they are that too. They are dangerous because they will never stop fighting. They will sacrifice everything for each other. They will chase you across the universe for a wrong you committed generations ago. But they are also kind. They have rebuilt worlds they destroyed in war. They have shared their technology with species that once feared them. They have protected the weak and defended the helpless. "So what should we do?" the young races would ask. And the answer was always the same. Be their friend, for the alternative is unthinkable. The stars remember the day humanity stopped being prey and became something else. Something ancient and terrible and beautiful. Something that could not be defeated because it refused to admit that defeat was possible. And across the galaxy, in every language and every culture, the warning spread. Never attack the humans. Face their wrath, and survival is impossible. Not difficult. Impossible.